on computer. I need you to work. So there we go. Cool. This. All right. All right. I'm going to assume that is my own computer that is watching. So we'll wait for a few more minutes for more people to show up and join in. Huh? Guess it wasn't my computer. All right. Let's see. Cool. We're live. So, as we wait, as we sit here, I know it's a Saturday night. Not as many people are going to probably be willing to be out and watching this on Saturday night. But I was like, well, I got time. And it's my birthday, so I was like, why not? Just to see. But we shall wait for more people to get in here, and if they're able to join, great. Then I will help out with answering as many of their tennis gear related questions as I can. If not, that's okay. I will honestly just play. I'll probably just play some of my Switch, because that was one of the presents that I got today. Was the new Pokemon game, Pokemon Legend ZA. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, as more and more people start to roll in, if you have any questions or comments about tennis or tennis gear, put them in the chat and I'll answer them as best as I can. And we'll go from there. Let's see. Ta-da. Okay, now this just feels weird. Yeah, I don't like doing both of these at the same time. Might just be me, but I don't like doing that. Never mind. Thought I would, but no. All right. Whew. I know it usually takes. What is that? I don't know what that is. Okay. I know it usually takes quite a bit for people to start showing up and anything, so we're chilling, we're having fun, we're all good. Not gonna say anything. All right. Well, for those who are just joining the stream, hello, welcome. If you have any questions, tennis gear related, please drop them in the chat so I can help out as much as I can. I know this is a more of an impromptu thing. It wasn't necessarily planned. I just realized, oh hey, it's my birthday and I have time until I'm not doing anything, so I might as well jump on here, see what's going on, and if there's anything that I can help with. So please, by all means, if you have questions, let me know and how I can help you. Oh yeah. Woo. Yeah. Pretty much most of the things that I've done today was I went to work today. That was quite a big thing. Went to work, was stringing away. I ended up because I just strung so many rackets, I guess. I ended up cutting my actual finger I used to weave the string through. So now it's essentially to the point where it almost started bleeding, but luckily it didn't. But I need something better to help save my fingers when I'm especially working with polys or sided polys. Those things just tear up my hand and it's like, man, that's not cool. Like I don't want to have to wear a band-aid on my finger or my hand the whole time I have to do my job or part of my job. That's not fun. That's not cool. I just wanted to I just wanted to work and not have to worry about blood or anything getting on a string. That wouldn't be cool. Not one bit. But if anyone's got anything else going on, drop it in the chat. Let me know how you're doing. Yeah. Even the camera is saying, yeah. It's shaking up and down. That's a weird noise. I don't know what it is going on, but that's a weird noise. I don't know if you can even hear it, but it sounds like a weed whacker is going off, which does not make any sense because it is at my current time of about 9 o'clock. So weird, but if it is, I don't know what's going on then. But thank you all for being here. I do appreciate Jono! Okay, your name's actually Jonathan. Cool. You never said that last time. You just had me go with Jono. Jonathan here. One match today, 6363. Yes, sir, Jonathan. Great job. I'm glad that the advice from the last stream helped out. And I think it's amazing that you won 6363. Like you said, your serve, kind of a weapon. And then with your Percept and Torbite, you did good. I had no doubt. And I'm glad you ended up winning. I'm glad you ended up telling me too. That's great to hear. And I also like how you just called yourself out as Jamaican guy. Like I wouldn't remember you from the last stream. Played number 1 seed after though got smoked. He's the 3-time defending champion. Jeez, dude. Yeah, it's like sometimes it's just like, dude. But hey, you made it through round 1, so that's more than some others can say. And it's, hey, it works out. 3-time defending champion though. Well, like, what tournament was this for? Was it just something like here or there, or have you consistently gone to this tournament before, Jonathan? He got shy all of a sudden, man. Remington, thank you for the birthday wishes. I appreciate it. What have I heard about the head prestige line? Is it being laid to rest? From what I have heard, from what I have heard, my assumption is that the prestige line is getting laid to rest. I think the prestige line and the instinct line are both going to get that treatment here soon. I don't know if that's actually true or not, but to me, it just makes sense to lay the prestiges down and just silently move away from them for quite a while. They might maybe still do it as like a legendary collection to where if you remember when the Prestige 93 got re-released, I think it was like last year or maybe the year before. I don't remember exactly when it was, but I think they might do something like that to where like they still make the Prestige every so often just as like a throwback or a classic if people want to remember it. But I think as a mainline series of rackets, I think the Prestige is probably going to go away, and that would be my assumption. So while it may be sad to see it go for some, I don't think it's going to stay around for too much longer. Would be my guess. It's an annual competition the hotel puts on. Levy Cheeks couples swept away clay court championships. First time playing as a tennis pro. I worked there. Oh, that's cool. Sad, but makes sense. Yeah, it is sad, but it does make sense. Jonathan, I'm going to look that up right now because I don't know where that is, but I'm curious. Levy, come on, Google. Swept away. So Jonathan, was the tournament actually in Jamaica or was it here? Was it here? Where was the tournament? I just want to make sure that I'm looking at the right thing. Right, so the new head speed 97. When will you get to demo it? I would like to know that the answer to that question myself, Remington. I want to get that thing in my hands now, so that way I can actually just like see and feel how this thing is going to be. Because I would really like to know how this is going to be. 97s you don't see that much anymore, so it's like, dude, what's happening? Why is this a thing? I want to play with it. I want to play with it a lot. I don't want to have to wait until whenever it's supposed to come out. But yeah, I want to play with it right now, Remington. I don't want to wait. I just want the racket. I just want to see what it does. I want to see why Head is thinking about doing smaller head sizes for the speed when they typically haven't. And I'm curious. Jonathan, to be honest, man, I think the purse head has carried me as far as it can go. I'm looking into VCore 2026 as my game is based on spin. I need a little more help for my racket after long match days like today. Jonathan, if you're basing a lot of your game off of spin, then because I believe you said not yesterday, or the last time we were here, I believe you said you were using the Percept 97D. You were either using the 97D or the 100D, I want to say. But if you like the Percept and you're just wanting more access to spin, then the VCore definitely is going to be a lot more spin, but you could probably also get away with doing, say, like the regular Percept 97 if you're using the 97D, or even the 97H if you think you'd be okay going with the heavier frame. But that's if you even want to stay with the Percept, not saying that you have to. That's just if you know you like the frame itself and you're just using one of the denser string patterns, then you do have a few other options to where you could try a more open string pattern to give you the spin and a little bit more power without having to go to a completely different racket right away. So that's just something I would say to keep in mind if you are thinking about, like, like you said, you've used it, you've loved it, and you just want to see what you might be able to do. I think that may be something to look into as well, but as well as the new VCore when it comes out next year. Merton, I'm using the Gravity Tour 98. Can't wait to try the new Speed 97. Yeah, Remington. The Speed, I'm really curious to see what's gonna happen with it. And using the Gravity Tour, I think just based off of me playing with the Gravity Tour as well, because I do have one. My guess is that the Speed, even though it's a 97 head size, I feel like the beam is going to be a little bit thicker than the Gravity is. So it's going to be a little bit stiffer and probably a little bit less flexible. So it'll be a little bit more powerful because of that. But that would be my guess. It's still the Speed frame, but now it's just more focused on control because of the smaller head size. So I'm just really interested to see what's going to happen with it and how that's actually going to work out. Jonathan, yes, it's held in Negril, Negril, Jamaica. Happy birthday, by the way, man. Bless up. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for the birthday wishes. And okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure I was looking in the right place. I didn't want to be absolutely wrong and then just being like, oh, I know where this is, but okay, cool. I could use that racket head speed boost with the same aerodynamic design. Yeah, 23, so yes, it's thicker. Okay, cool. But yeah. Nah, guys, it's cool. There's so many cool rackets that are showing up next year, and I want to play with all of them right now. And I just want to play with all of them. I'm like, man, just give me the rackets, let me have them, so that way I can just do whatever. I can do my stuff, do my things, and just go from there. But that one's exciting. Oh, and I did not uh put into the chat if you have seen the video that I posted about the new rackets that are coming out next year, because I remember this after I finished recording, after I uploaded. There was something else that I did not mention in that video that is a little bit more secret, because they don't want people to know who's doing this, but there are a few more rackets that are going to be released next year that were not in that video. But if you've seen the video I made on it, Remington, yes, I watched it. Spill the tea. Okay. Well, Remington, I'm not allowed. I'm pretty sure I'm not allowed to say like what the brand is, or like who the brand is. I can just give like I don't even know, but maybe say a subtle clue. But the brand that is coming out, they obviously don't make rackets right now, duh. But there is another tennis gear brand. You wouldn't think of them in terms of like actual gear or anything. You would mainly just see them as just like you've seen them and you know about them, but this is going to be their first time making rackets, and they're going to make 2 of them. So those are those will be coming out in March, I believe, is when they're set to launch. Again, I'm pretty sure I cannot tell you who it is, just because they don't want that to be known. They don't want that to be released. But from getting to play with them, I think that for their very first time out, because I got to try the samples, I think that they will do well. And I think, especially for the first time, but they're kind of following in the same pattern as some of the as Solinco did, to where their first initial rackets are going to be a little bit more power focused. One's going to be a power racket, the other's going to be a control racket. Kind of like what Solinco did when they released the Blackout and the Whiteout V1. They're more similar to those in terms of how they're going to play, and then they'll have as far as I know, yes, these will be their very first rackets. They have essentially 2 lines coming, and that is going to be where they are starting to change things up, just because I don't believe they've ever made rackets before, but it was a pretty cool idea when they came out. Yes, they are a tennis brand. They are very well known in the tennis world. It just has to be kept under wraps until they officially launch. Like I said, I think in March. But those weren't in the video because I just kind of forgot. Rob, thank you so much for the birthday wishes. I appreciate it. But yeah, those were not in the video because the company itself wants to keep a lot more of those things under wraps. But technically, to the total number of rackets that were coming out in that you saw in that video, there's technically 2 more. So I just remembered that after I uploaded and finished recording. So it's like, man, probably should have like hinted at that just to like leave people on a cliffhanger, but I just completely forgot until like today. I was like, oh yeah, those are a thing. But yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting thing for them to bring out. I was extremely shocked when they said that they were going to do this, and when I actually got to play test it. But hey, if it works out for them, it works out for them. I don't think that they're going. Excuse me. I don't think that they're going to have a very bad launch or they're going to have a lot of trouble. I think it'll just be an interesting kind of test for them to work on, especially as they get closer and closer to the actual launch date of them. It'll be pretty cool. I'm excited for it. And hopefully I can get the samples again so that way I can have videos and or reviews ready for launch day, and then it can just be there and done. But yeah. What anyone else got any interesting tennis facts or gear questions they got going on? I'm here. Ask away. Oh. Where did... Okay. This happened today at work. Someone came in and they wanted their racket strung with. I guess this is a new string from Tourmaline. I've only seen it one other time. I think it was called Tourmaline Truffles. It was a purple string, and the string itself in the package had a recommendation to pre-stretch it. And I was like, well, that's weird. Especially since this is a polyester string, you usually don't see anything like that. So I was curious if anyone here, because I obviously just saw this for the second time in my life. I was like, oh, I have not heard too much about truffles. So if anyone has any insight to it, from what it felt like, it's just a round polyester that's very soft and typically is going to be I would assume, designed for more arm comfort and more arm friendliness. I haven't looked too far into it, but while we're here, we might as well look together, because I saw it and I was like, I've never seen this before. What is this? Tourmaline. Let's see. All of Tourmaline strings feel plasticky. Can't do it. Oh, there it is. Truffle X. Jeez. Remington, define plasticky. Define plasticky so I understand what you mean. I don't want to just assume. I think I know what you mean, but in your own words, tell me what that means to you. Meet Tourmaline. Meet Truffle X, our breakthrough ultra soft tennis string engineered from new polymer, not polyester. Oh. This innovative material delivers unmatched elasticity and comfort, making it the ultimate modern replacement for traditional multi-filaments. Where multi-filaments shred, lose tension, and die out quickly, Truffle X holds strong, maintaining feel and playability while offering a uniquely plush response. Truffle X has an insanely low static stiffness. Think comfort. For context, here are the static stiffness ratings of other strings for comparison. Truffle X 0.20 I'm going to assume kilograms per millimeter. Babolat Natural Gut or VS Touch in the 130, so 16 gauge is 0.55 kilograms per millimeter. Technofiber Energy Squared in the 1.32 is 0.58. Wilson NXT is 0.67. Otoro is 0.95. And Babla RPM Blast is 1.25 to 1.18. Oh, Babla RPM Blast in a 17 gauge is a 1.18 kilogram per millimeter. The dynamic stiffness is comparable to many top-selling multifilaments on the market. Gauge 1.30. Truffle X stretches under tension, resulting in a slimmer, effective thickness. Performance ultra soft, elastic with an explosive ball pocketing and pop. Designed as a cross string for hybrids, Truffle X pairs best with an ultra slick co-poly main such as Otoro, creating a blend of plush comfort and spin load snapback. That was actually the hybrid setup that I was stringing today at work, was Otoro in the mains and Truffle X in the crosses. So that was interesting because Otoro was the green one and then the Truffle was purple. I was talking to the other guy that was stringing. I was like, hey, I have 4 characters that this setup reminds me of because, like I said, the Otoro was green and the Truffle was purple. And I said, what 4 are they? It took him a while, but eventually we got there. I was like, number 1 was Hulk because green and purple. Number 2 was Ferb from Phineas and Ferb. Number 3 was the Joker. And number 4 was Buzz Lightyear. Random characters, but they all reminded me of purple and green. So that's what that combo made me think of today. So a little fun tidbit, but that's what I was doing today. That's what I was talking about today at work for a little bit. Let's see. Back to Truffle X. Tension. While tension is personal to each player, we recommend stringing Truffle X at the same tension you'd use for a natural gut or a multi-filament. Torline's team found 55 pounds of 5% pre-stretch to be an ideal starting point. With its modern polymer composition, Truffle X brings a new standard of comfort, feel, and elasticity to players who have long relied on multi-filaments, but demand better durability and performance. Important notice. Truffle X is made from an ultra soft elastic material. Please exercise caution during installation. Do not apply more than 35 pounds of force when tying off knots. Be gentle when tying off knots to avoid overpulling or damaging the string. And please note, ultra limited quantities available. Limit 2 sets per order. Interesting. So to me, it kind of just sounds like it's it kind of sounds like it's trying to be Technofiber Triax to where it's more like a polyester but also soft like a multi-filament. That's what it's sounding like. However, it seems like it is a much thinner string. Like I said, this was only my second time ever seeing Truffle X, so I wanted to at least see if anyone else here had noticed it. But now that I know, now that I know of it, well, maybe it's something to try, especially in the hybrid because that's usually what they recommend. Let's see, plastic CB. Hello, nice to see you. CB, yeah, I haven't seen a Truffle X review yet. Remington, feels like Yonex Polytour, lol. Okay. I like the Wasabi and the Otoro Tour, my mistake. Otoro regular, I didn't like it. It's too underpowered and dies too quickly. Okay. CB, how long did Otoro, normal Otoro take you to die off? I don't know why I couldn't speak right there for a second. That was crazy. But yeah, the Wasabi, I want to say Wasabi and Otoro. Is that the one? 3 hours. Dang. 3 hours? That's crazy. Igor? What's up, Igor? It's been a while. My actual setup is Toro and Enzo Pro, RF01 Pro. Not so easy to create topspin, basically no buying the ball. Maybe it's just my technique. Well, to me, Igor, the RF01 Pro, just like, especially with how condensed the actual strings are in the middle of the racket itself, to me, it's just, it always seemed like a hard racket to generate spin from unless you had something that in there that was able to do that a lot on its own. So there's a lot of things that I think it might be if you're wanting to get topspin out of it and you're using polys as your setup. Toro, because Toro Toro, that's sided, and Enzo Pro. I'm quite literally just looking at Toroline's website as I talk through this because these ones I am not as familiar with. So please bear with me as I look to try and find these. But yeah, the RF01 Pro Higor I think is just a harder racket to get spin out of in general. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's just the strings. The racket to me has always been a little bit more underpowered like that. So that may also be a factor as well. CB, you broke it in the 6 hour. Now, all you guys and gals, if you're watching over here that actually break string and everything, I don't do that. I've broken one string in my entire life. Ernest, good evening, sir. And thank you for the birthday wish. I greatly appreciate it. But yeah, I've broke one string in my life, and it was a multi-filament string. This was after I've been playing for at least 4 years, and I quite literally was shaving that string down and rubbing it against the other strings because I wanted it to break so bad. And then I finally did it when me and my friend were just hitting around because we were helping to coach a tennis camp at Miami University. We were helping to coach a tennis summer camp, and I was just shredding the string, trying to get it to break so I could actually just say I finally broke a string. And then him and I are playing with it, and then I go to hit a forehand. I hit the ball, I hear the pop, and I'm like, I finally did it because I could tell what the pop was. My friend, he could tell what it was because he broke string constantly. He immediately just drops his racket. He goes, yes! And I was like, oh. And I took a picture of it, and I was like, all right, cool. And I was like, man, finally did it. And then I have not been able to recreate it since. But I've never broke a polyester string. That has never happened for me. Let's see. CB, I feel like the RF line performs best with polygut hybrids from what I've seen online. I feel like that's just most rackets, though. I feel like most rackets benefit by having natural gut and polyester just because that's a big and easy setup to just do good with. Now, granted, the RFs might do it even better just because those are Rogers rackets, and that was his setup, was natural gut in the mains and ALU power rough in the crosses with Wilson's Champion's Choice, but that might be the reason why it works. Igor, ball goes into net a lot when I get a low launch angle. I can get some nice winners, but it's pretty hard to win like that on clay. Yeah, on clay, trying to keep a low launch angle or trying to keep a low angle on clay is tough, unless you're just slicing the ball or any of that. If you actually try and use your forehand or use your backhand, now granted I do not play on good clay. The clay that I have gotten to play on, not the best. And anyone that has ever played on that same court or any of the courts, they will agree with me. Not the best clay. But though if you're trying to keep it low, it's hard to do, man. No matter what racket you got. Spartan. Thoughts on head flex point prestige mid? Hold on. Let's see. Spartan, I'm going to assume that, and I'm going to look it up too. Head, flex point, prestige, mid. Which one is this? Oh, it's the old one. So Spartan, have never played with this prestige. But because it's a prestige, there's some pretty common characteristics about all the prestiges that you can pretty much just go with. Let me see if I can find the specs on this one because I want to actually... Okay. 12.2 strung, I'm going to assume. 65 stiffness, swing weight 323. 18 by 20. 93 scoring chest size. Yeah. That's a tough racket to use, Spartan. No matter who you are. But if you're able to use it, you're going to get a lot of control of that out of that thing. And it's probably going to be a very, very stable racket. But that's a hefty, hefty racket to swing. And if someone isn't used to it, especially with that much of in a static weight, as well as just an 18 by 20 and a 93, I think that racket is going to get very overpowered very quickly by a lot of today's modern game. I don't know if that racket could hold up. Of course, any player can make some players can make any racket work, but with how much spin and how much power today's game has, I think that the FlexPoint Prestige Mid is kind of just going to get overshadowed. You can make it work if you really try, but I think it's going to be a lot harder, and it's probably just going to tire you out a lot quicker, especially if you're not used to lugging around that much of a racket and you've never played with one like that before, especially being a 19 millimeter straight beam racket and an 18 by 20. That's harsh, and that's hard to use for a lot of players, if not, I'd say the vast majority of them. Igor, by the way, Brazil has a lot of clay courts. Noted. Maybe if I ever make it out to Brazil, Igor, if that is where you live, maybe if I ever make it to Brazil, we'll have to get up and actually hit, so that way you can show me everything you're talking about. CB, I break poly either 7 or 9 hour mark. Dude, I don't know. I don't do that, man. It's both a blessing and a curse. Just because I'll leave it at that. Poly Syngut hybrids I break in like 3 hours, which is sad because it's so good. Well, of course you're gonna break a poly Syngut hybrid. That Syngut ain't gonna last rubbing against a polyester for that long. That's not gonna last. And yeah, you found that out the hard way, and like you said, it plays well when it doesn't break, and then it breaks, and you're like, I gotta do this again. What's your go-to poly Syngut hybrid then, CB? Let's see. Ernest, by the way, I was watching the tennis guy. He mentioned you in regards of the new tennis rackets that are coming out. I did see that. I do still need to comment on that video because that was very nice. That was very nice of him. And I was very, very appreciative of him giving me that shout out. I saw the comment that he left on my video. I was like, man, that's really cool. I was like, and then I saw that he published the video about that he was talking about in the comment. I was like, that's so sick. And I very much appreciated what he had to say. And I'm glad I was able to help inspire him to make that video. CB, I played with a Prestige once. That thing was unplayable for me. Yeah, Prestige. The Prestige is hard to use for a lot of people, and it's not just the fact that whoever tries to use a Prestige is a bad player. The Prestige is just a very, very niche racket to use. Let's see, Ernest. Do I follow other tennis influencers like Tennis Nerd or TenComp? Yeah, I would say between those two, I lean more towards Tennis Nerd just because he's who I started with first. He's who I watched growing up the most, especially as I was just coming into tennis and learning about the gear and learning about the rackets for the very first time. I would watch him and Tennis Warehouse reviews almost religiously, even after I got off of work, because I was just trying so much to figure out what was going on so I could actually be good at my job. But I like Tennis Nerd. I like TenComp. I haven't watched as much of his stuff just because he's a newer one that I've started watching here and there. But I respect and admire those guys a lot just because of what they've been able to do. Tennis Nerd's been doing this for years. I think over a decade now. Just if you go back to the last video he had on his channel, and I would love to get to know him. I would love to have a conversation, and maybe one day here soon, he invites me on his podcast, and then the two of us can just talk the breeze, see what's going on, talk about whatever we want to talk about. That'd be sick. I feel like that'd be really cool. And I was just like, man, if it happens, I'm not gonna say that it's impossible. I'm just gonna say, hey, it may take me a little bit, but I think I can get there at some point. We'll see. I think it might happen. I also think it'd just be really cool if it did too. So CB Head Links Tour 17 gauge mains, 52 pounds head velocity, MLT 1.38, 16 gauge 55. Yeah, I like the setup. I like the setup, CB. I like it. Guzzy, hello. Is there any perfect range of balance point in a racket for forehand and backhand? Guzzy, I'm gonna need you to elaborate in terms of what do you mean by, are you talking about the actual balance point of the racket itself and which one and how that's going to relate to your forehand or your backhand? Or are you just trying to see? Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure that I was understanding what you were talking about. So with that, I think it just comes down, I think it more so comes down to what you feel as the player works best for you. Some players may prefer a little bit more of a head light balance just because they want to be doing a lot more of the work themselves because they feel as if they have more control over both their forehand and their backhand by adding more weight into the actual handle of the racket, and then they can just do they have more freedom. Whereas with going more towards a head heavy balance, you are definitely going to get a lot more power just because the racket is doing a lot more of the work. However, if you're not very good at controlling the ball or using spin to place the ball a little bit easier, then I think having a more head heavy bounce is where you're going to start running into issues just because you're typically going to be sailing the ball a lot more since the racket is doing a lot more of the work. And then with the amount of force you're pushing, especially if you're trying to drive the ball a little bit more, say to your opponent's backhand with yours, because you're in a backhand rally, because those do happen from time to time, then it is going to be a little bit more cumbersome in order for you to actually use the head heavy racket effectively. So I personally tend to like people, especially if they've been playing more for a couple of years and they're wanting to get more and more serious. I tend to prefer people, or at least talk with people that are usually more around the midpoint for balance or a little bit more head light, just because then you as the player are able to have a little bit more control over what is happening when you actually hit the ball rather than relying on the racket to do as much of the work. Now, of course, you can still customize your racket to have it do whatever you want. If you want it to have an extremely headlight balance but still have, say, lead tape in the hoop so that way you just get a lot of plow through, that's completely fine. You just have to find that sweet spot. But I would say there's no perfect. Okay, I saw what you commented, but I'd say there's no perfect one. But I would probably, if you're starting to become more of an intermediate to advanced level player, then I would say you're probably looking at more of an even balanced racket to a little bit more of a head light balance, just so that way you as the player control a lot more of the variables. That is what I would say. I'm glad I was able to help, Guzzy. Ernest, so what new tennis rackets are you highly anticipated for or looking forward to for 2026? Ernest, I am very, very curious and hopeful for that speed that is supposed to be in a smaller head size. I really want to see how that plays. Now, granted, it may be terrible. I don't know. I have not got hit with it. I've only got to just kind of like know about it. But if it is actually going to work out really cool, I'm excited for it. Now, I also know that with Head, I'm excited for one of the colors that the Boom is going to turn into. And I am sad that I will probably never get it because I'm most likely not going to buy a Boom just to get the color because I don't really use the Boom. But the color that it's going to come out with, very, very, very cool. Really love it. And then if there's anything else, so I was talking about this a little bit earlier when there were a little bit less people in the stream, but if you saw the video that I did about the new rackets that are coming in 2026, I left 2 out because A, I forgot about them. B, the company that's making them doesn't necessarily want them to know that they are the ones making rackets yet. However, they are coming soon. I believe they are set to release in March. So I'm excited for those. I have got to test them and I have got to play with them for a little bit. I do not have any footage of them. I do not have any recording things of them just because I didn't want to do that. I am very, very curious as to see how those go, Ernest. So that I would say is something I'm anticipating for 26, just to see how those are received and to see what other people think about them as this company starts to try and break into the racket market a little bit more. They're kind of following the Solinco path when they released the whiteout and the blackout V1s to where they have power and control. They didn't necessarily throw in a spin racket in there just because they're trying to make it easier and just have a very, very nice, just like easy way for people to know what each racket does. So those I'm excited for. I hope they do well just because I like the brand that is making the rackets anyway. And yeah, those I completely forgot to talk about in the video just because they just slipped my mind since they're not technically supposed to be named. And I was like, okay, these are cool, these are coming. So I figured I might as well drop a little tidbit on them in there. And then let's see. CB, you've seen leaks of the new Aero 2026. It looks very interesting. Tell me where you saw those leaks, sir. I want to see it. I have not got to see the Aero. I have a rough idea of what it's going to look like, but let me tell me where you found those leaks. I want to see it. I want to actually see it with my own eyes through these blue light blocking glasses in case for some reason I decide to go to bed right after this. But dude, I gotta say these things are amazing especially in terms of actually just like helping my sleep. I don't have like a sleep tracker or anything, but since I got these, I think a few months ago, every single time that I've wore them, especially if I know I'm going to be on my phone or on my computer for hours throughout the day, these things, lifesavers. An amazing $40 investment. Highly recommend. And I got them off Amazon too, which was the best part. Not sponsored. Duh. Let's see. Higor, I grew up playing with a lot of those banana shots inspired by our. Yeah, those banana shots. Insane. Incredible. Insane. Wish I could have seen one live, like in person. That would be cool. But I only got to see Novak. No, I only got to see Roger of the big three actually play live. Novak's technically still going, so there's a chance I could see him at some point. But I've only seen Roger play live, and that was pretty cool. I was sad that his opponent had to retire because he was injured or he was cramping in the second set. But I got to see Roger play live, so I at least get to say that one, which I'm cool with. Ernest, we need to grow your channel, bro. So far, you're making great content, in my opinion. Thank you, Ernest. I greatly appreciate that. And we're working on growing it. Like I said, I have I very much enjoy doing this, and as the hold on, I don't want to sound terrible, but as the hold on, bear with me for a second. Bear with me. Yeah, as the tennis guy said, he was really nice and kind about what I've been doing here, and I very much appreciated it. I'm doing my best to make sure that way I can get this stuff out there to where I think it'll be helpful for all those that are able and willing to listen, because this stuff that I'm talking about has helped me to better understand tennis as well as just to actually help prevent injury, just because luckily so far never had tennis elbow so far. Haven't got injured from playing either. So I'd like to continue that streak, and if I can help protect someone else from having to go through those, all the better. And just the fact of like I would go through and as especially at work, people would come in and they'd say, "Oh, my pro is telling me to use this racket and this string." I was like, "That is that is not necessarily a great combination for if what you've told me about your game is true right now. Coach may know exactly how you play, but sometimes it's just like let's let's maybe try one step towards that, and then if you like that, we can go to the next one, because there was one coach, this story always irks me, because the coach was training a 13, 14-year-old junior player, and the junior player was using a pure arrow, so of course they're using topspin, and this was a few years ago, but the coach had told the kid and recommended to the kid, because you're going to be learning topspin now, he told the kid to get Kevlar in his racket. And in my mind, if you've watched my videos or you've heard me talk about it, to me, that's a big no and a big red flag. And if someone tells you to do that, typically I say run. Just because, especially at 13, 14, Kevlar is so hard on the player's arm, it's arguably worse than polyesters, depending upon the tension you get it put at and just the material used. That coach recommending that to that junior player, and then they actually got it, and the kid just goes back to where they got their racket strung within like a week or two, and they're just like, I can't play with this, and the kid can't even play tennis for at least a month because of how many arm issues he has from using Kevlar. And to me, that's just like, there's got to be a better way to just like get information about this out there, so that way we don't have incidents like that happening, because to me that's awful. Like there's nearly no reason to ever recommend Kevlar, especially to a junior, and that was just something that really got me, and I was like, I can't let that sit by. And so I was like, no, something is needs to be done. So that's one of the reasons why this channel that's one of the reasons why this channel started to show up, just to like try and avoid some of that for other players, that so that way they don't have to go through it. But yes, Ernest, again, thank you for the appreciation of the content. The best way for us to grow it, I believe, is just to share it with those that play tennis. I do my best to provide. I do my best to make it work with what I got and what I have access to, and so far it seems to be working great. So thank you all for being here. It does mean a lot, especially taking time out on a Saturday night, or if depending on your time zone, it may be a little bit later than that. I do greatly appreciate you being here, and especially being here, at least in my time zone, still on my birthday. So it's fun being here. It's fun hanging out with all of you. It's just a great time. CB head squared also looks interesting. It does. I am curious to see how it goes, just because if it is going to potentially rival the Clash, I don't know how that's going to go over, just because that seems like a hard process to nail. And if Head is able to do it, I think it's probably going to do very well for them. If not, it's going to be harsh, man. It's going to be harsh. I hope that they're able to figure it out, but if not, it's going to take them. I think it might take them a while to recover from it. And the strings on those two look like they're extremely spaced out. So it looks like it's going to be a very open string pattern, even if it is a 16 by 19, which I don't know what the string pattern is. It just, from the one picture I saw, it looks like a very open string pattern that racket does. Excuse me, CB. Ernest, as for himself, he's looking forward to the new Wilson spin rackets and probably the Tecfire overhaul, the TFX one. Those are cool. I think if Wilson can actually nail a spin racket, then they'll finally have something to compete against the Pure Aero 98 and the V-Core. Because that's really the only big department that they're lacking in right now. It's just a good spin racket. And they know that. That's why I think they're putting so much time and attention into this racket, at least behind the scenes. Most of us non in the those of us that are not in the loop, we're just all like, hey, what is that? And we're just kind of like trying to piece together everything. But yeah, I think that it will get better, and I hope that they have figured out what is going to work best for them. But we'll see. I'm not sure. We'll see how it goes. Guzzy, have I ever tried Grapple Snake Tour Mako Silver? I'm using with the T-Fight 305. No, I have not tried Grapple Snake. Grapple Snake, I have not tried Grapple Snake. I have not tried Restring. Tourline, I haven't really tried too many of those. I've played with a few of them, just like here and there, or if like my friends had it in a racket of their own, I hit with it for a little bit, but I have not gotten the chance to actually put Tourline in a racket of mine that I played with consistently enough to get a solid feel for it. I would like to. And hey, if anyone here knows Tourline, or if they know someone that can get me in contact with Tourline, please, by all means, send them my way. I would love to review some of their strings. However, I've not gotten to do that as much. So, Grapple Snake, I unfortunately cannot help with at this time. Neither, or Restring, or as much of Tourline. Tourline I'm a little bit more familiar with, just because it's starting to become more and more popular. But Grapple Snake and Restring, and I feel like there's another one I'm thinking of. There's probably one more I'm thinking of that I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, I will be very curious to see how they play if I ever do get the chance to get my hands on them. I think I'll be able to at some point. Ernest, so myself, when Tennis Guy mentioned you on the video you did on new upcoming racks, do you think manufacturers will go that route, making different weight options, but still same specs configuration? I don't think they're going to do it right now. I think eventually they might. However, the one big thing that I see as a downside to that for the racket manufacturers and the companies themselves is just the fact that if they do that, they do pretty much have to shorten the lines that are out there right now and condense them. Because in the Tennis Guy's example, he used the speeds. He used the Speed MP and he used the Speed Pro, which good examples to actually use just for the illustration purpose, just because they have both the 100 head size, Speed MP 16 by 19, and a 10.6 or 300 gram unstrung Speed Pro, 10.8, no, 10.9 unstrung, or I think it's like I think they consider that 310 grams unstrung. Someone correct my math if I'm wrong on that, please. But it's also an 18 by 20. The one reason that I don't know if the manufacturers will truly go over to how the tennis guy was referring to it in terms of having exact same head size and exact same head size and exact same beam thickness, and then just having the different weights, is just because I feel like they're going to think that that is going to limit the amount of options that are available to the players, because they're focusing specifically on that itself, on that one specific style itself, and just making it either heavier or lighter. And by doing that, they have technically eliminated some of the market for their rackets in itself. So then the companies that don't do that, that have those extra little like special rackets here or there, they just head on over to those companies. And I think the racket manufacturers may not want to do that right now. I think it is definitely something that I could see happening in the future, especially if they start to maybe do it like with one new racket line, to where, say, as an example, if still using head, if say the head squared, if it came out and it was, I don't know the specs of it, I'm just spitballing here, using kind of the speeds as our going off of example. If we use, say, like that as the speed spec of 100 square inch head size, 10.6 or 300 grams unstrung, and then we have the lighter weight version and then a heavier version. I think if they do it like that, to where the individual to where the new lines come out starting like that, I think it could work. However, if they try and just like immediately flip and do everything all at once, to be like with the head radical, it's like, hey, we're only making the radical. No, better example, we're only making the gravity in the Gravity MP style, being a 100 square inch head size with a 16 by 20 string pattern. Same beam thickness, but you only get a 100 square inch with a 16 by 20, and you can get it in a 300 gram, you can get it in a 310 gram, a 305, or a 285, and then they eliminate that. That's where I think it's going to be that the brands will start to lose people and just go to other brands that offer those more specific and a little bit more niche styles, rather than just having the basic cookie cutter, this racket, and then go to something else. I think eventually there's probably going to be some rackets and racket lines that do attempt this. I think it would just be very hard to do in execution for the brands to justify getting rid of that, because there's been plenty of times where, even when I'm working with someone, that if depending upon where they're at in their playing journey, really depends on what racket I think that they should use. Because I've given some people rackets that they aren't necessarily ready for a 100 square inch head size, even if it is the lighter weight racket, and they need racket sizes of like a 102 or a 104, like the Radical Team or the Gravity Team, or even the Head Boom Team L, which is 107, just to stay within head as an easy example. If head got rid of those and we're just talking about having, say, like a set boom, 100 square inch, basic weight, 10.6 unstrung or 300 grams, or I think the boom's 295 because it's 10.4. Then they have a heavier one at 100 and a lighter one still at 100. By getting rid of those bigger head sizes and those more like niche rackets, you just kind of eliminated that player because they needed the bigger head size and the much lighter racket, rather than just having it and being like, demo this. So I think it was an interesting concept. I think some brands will attempt it. I think that it's very easy to it. I think it's not going to be easy. I think it's a very cool thing to try, but I think it's just going to be very hard to actually implement for the brands in order for them to see much of an ROI on it. Hopefully that little rant was enough of an answer, Ernest, because that was probably farther than I even thought I was going to take it. Igor, great live. Happy birthday. Thank you so much, sir. Greatly appreciate it. Let's see. CB, I've tried Grapple Snake Tour M8. It's a very good string. I've been hearing about it more because I just have being online and everything. So eventually I may get my hands on a pair or not a pair, a set of Grapple Snake. We'll see. I've heard Grapple Snake, at least M8. I heard someone compare it to Headlinks Tour. CB, would you say that is an accurate description of Tour M8? Would Headlinks Tour be a very good thing to compare it to in terms of how it's going to play and how it's going to feel? Let me know, sir. Guzzy, how about weight of a racket? Is there an ideal weight for different kinds of players? What is considered a heavy racket? That's all. A lot of that, Guzzy. Please tell me how to say that right, so I don't sound like an idiot online. If anyone ever watches this back and they're just like, "What is he talking about?" Anyway, weight is much more subjective because that is a lot more dependent upon your physicality and what you physically are able to handle in a racket. Most of the times you'll see as you start to get more into control rackets and more advanced rackets, they do tend to be a little bit heavier, typically about 10.8 ounces unstrung or 305 grams unstrung. So that's where you do have to start and pay more attention to if this is something you actually do prefer, because you can get away with using lighter weight rackets at a higher level. It's going to be a little bit harder because the racket's not going to be as stable as, say, like if you used a Pure Aero Light versus a Pure Aero. The regular Pure Aero is going to be much more stable since it has more actual weight in the racket, whereas the Pure Aero Light is going to be a little bit less stable. So it has, using my water bottle as a racket, it's going to be more like if you use the Pure Aero Light, it's going to rotate in your hand like that a little bit more, just because it's not actually as stable or not as solid as the normal Pure Aero because it has less official weight to it. Swing weight does play a factor into that. However, just for this example, because we're just talking about weight in general, that's going to be a big thing. So that's where demoing rackets comes in, Guzzy, just to make sure that the weight feels comfortable to you, and that way you can swing the racket for about 2 hours comfortably and not get extremely wore down by whatever racket you're doing, because you don't want the racket to be the thing slowing you down, throwing your timing off, and then absolutely just wrecking your game because it's a little bit too heavy. It's happened before. It will happen again to other people, unfortunately, but if we can avoid it, we want to avoid it. Patrick, hello. Thank you for stopping by. CB, it's not similar to Link's Tour. Tour M8 is very unique. It's soft when swinging slowly and it's crisp when swinging fast. Interesting. Now, I know you just said it's unique. Give me a string. For me, it's like an evolution of RPM Blast. Interesting. Then, sir, if you've tried it, how would you say it compares to Yonex Polytour Rev? What would you say to that comparison? Curious to know. Patrick, do you know the exact location of rackets where the stiffness RA is measured? Usually with... Hold on, let me grab a racket. Give me a second. That was a little more than a second. My bad. But usually, whenever I've seen racket stiffness measured, Patrick, usually if the racket is sitting there like this on the machine that is going to measure it, you have a little thing out here that holds the handle, so that way the base of the racket here, this does not actually get adjusted or anything. And then right over here at the top of the head, there's a metal piece, and then you push a button, it pushes the racket down and bends it, and then as it releases, it brings it back up, and that's usually what it does. And that's usually what it does use to get the stiffness or the RA. That's at least what I've seen. There may be some other machines that do it a different way, but that is the only way I have. Excuse me. That is the way I have measured stiffness on rackets before, and that is the only way I've seen it done in person. Like I said, there may be another way, but typically it is from right here at the top of the head. It bends, and then just depending upon how much force was used to bend the racket, the machine doing the actual work will then relay that into a stiffness rating. Hope that helped, Patrick. CB for me, like, okay, I've not tried Polytorque Rev, sadly. Okay, cool. All good. All good. I don't think you necessarily need to if you like Grapple Snake. I will see about potentially finding a pack of it somewhere somehow. We'll see. Ernest, thank you for the rant. It is a nice concept, but like you said, manufacturers will not implement it. Nice wall, by the way. I have 2 of them. What do you think of grip socks like RTP? Well, thanks, Ernest, for that. Grip socks. I mean, the only time I think I've ever actually wore a pair of like grippy socks is when I'm at the hospital, or like if I just had surgery and I'm just getting out of surgery. I think that's the only time I've ever wore grippy socks. I have no idea how they would play for tennis. I've never wore that. Now, granted, I've wore some stupid socks for tennis, like things with padding, things without padding, low cut, high cut, both at the same time. It's like stupid. But I've never tried grippy socks. So, what is the RTP brand stand for that you typed about, Ernest? My racket. Patrick, thanks, of course. I'd like Tennis Warehouse to measure and post vertical and lateral stiffness. Vertical stiffness, I feel like that would be a hard one because I don't know if there's any like normal diagnostic machine that actually would do vertical stiffness. Just because of how the rackets are shaped, I think it would be a very hard thing to calculate for a normal machine, but I'm sure someone can figure out how to do it. I would just think it would be pretty tough to do. But I don't know. We'll see. Road to Pro. Well, Ernest, let's look up the Road to Pro socks, because I have not touched these or seen them. Road to Pro socks. What in the world? I have no clue what these are. I have never seen these before, Ernest. Huh. That's weird. Yeah, I've never seen them before. I don't think I've encountered anyone that has actually used them. But yeah, like I said, the only time I ever wore socks that had grip to them, I was leaving the hospital, so I don't associate grip socks to tennis. Some people may love it. I've never tried it, but that's just me, bro. All right. I've never experimented with socks. Yeah, CB, you and me. I pretty much just whatever is in that drawer over there next to my bed, whatever socks I have, whatever socks I got for like Christmas or whatever socks I got for Christmas or whatever socks I found. Like I've even bought socks from the Dollar Tree before and just used those because I was like, these are fine. I am not a guy that has been a big sock connoisseur. I even play in dress socks for most of the time just because I got a good deal on them. So I'm like, I'm not the guy to ask about socks. Or just shoes in general. I stick with Asics Court FF3. Yes, sir. Here's the thing, CB, about the Asics Court FFs. And I'll show you. So, the Court FFs, they used to be my favorite shoe. Like, these things, great. The original Court FF, amazing. I had 2 pairs of these throughout my time playing high school because they were that good. And these shoes lasted me 2 entire high school seasons of tennis. They did not break for me because I don't break shoes. You can still see the tread. There's still a little bit, and most people would probably say, especially for those that break their shoes, they'd be like, how are they still like that? But no. This is my favorite tennis court shoe that they ever made. Not only was the tongue built in, but it was all mesh here, so it was just way easier and way more breathable. And the cushioning was great. I loved these things. But then Asics had to go and do what they did. So from that shoe, they then made, where is it? There's those pairs. Well, that sucks. I don't know where my other pair went, so I'll just use these ones instead. They made these, the Court FF2s, and they made them bulkier. They made them plastic. They made the tongue a lot stiffer, and so it wasn't as maneuverable. And I was just like, why did they have to do this? And the big thing about these was the plastic that was on there, it breaks. So a lot of people, when they got these, especially the Court FF2s, they got the plastic, they tied it into the last hole, and then it just broke. And these are, as you know, $160, $170 shoes. They're like, dude, why? So then now that they're on to the Court FF3s, I don't have a pair of those, but you get the point. They're still more like this than they are from the first one. So I'm just like, I was sad to see it go. And that's why I always tell people, if you find a shoe that you do like, get multiple pairs of it before it leaves, because you may not ever see it again. And that is the one thing that I will never see again. And I'm so sad about it. But that's my little shoe rant for the night, because of those. There's my other pair. I have another pair of the FF2s. I like this one better, not just because it's green, but well, mainly because it's green. And this one's my actual size. The other one is a little bit big, but I like that. I like this colorway. I would wear this when I I would wear these shoes whenever I went to college, because the college I went to, their main colors were green. So green and white. So I was like, these shoes are perfect. I even actually wore these shoes when I graduated college, and I gave the commencement speech for my graduating class. I wore these instead of dress shoes because people had just come to know these as my Ivy Tech shoes. For those of you that are curious about where I went to college, these are what I wore, and I did it in front of everyone that was graduating. They're like, "Huh, all right," because they were just like, "Yeah, he always wears these every single time he's at school, so graduation's no different." All right, that's my shoe thing. They are very bulky. Yes, yes, they are very bulky. By the way, will you be doing other related tennis content like reviewing ball machines or tennis bags and then review rackets, tennis shoes, and strings? So I actually, at one point, I actually got reached out to, I think, Ernest, by, I think they were called Pongbot for, I think they were a ball machine. And they were saying, hey, we want to send you a ball machine for you to review on the for you to review on the channel, but I had never heard of them before, like at all. I'd seen, and then when I looked into them, I saw like some other people that had made a video about them, but I just had no idea what they were. And the email that I saw it from, it was asking me to connect with them over WhatsApp and everything. So like I gotta admit I was a little bit skeptical and I was a little bit weirded out about it, but eventually if I get a chance to review stuff like that, I might. Bags I think would be a little bit harder just because the bags themselves don't you, I personally do not have as much access to bags as I do say rackets and strings and shoes. Those are usually where my bread and butter are just cuz I can get those fairly easily. But I don't know. I might I might. I mean, I still use my old Dunlop bag that I've had since 2019 2020, and it is a 15 pack, which probably way more than I need, but I got a good deal on it, so I was like, of course I'm going to get the big one. But I would not be opposed to reviewing ball machines or tennis bags. I would just need some way to get better access to it, Ernest, rather than just having to buy every single thing myself and then go from there. CB, it took a while to break them in. Yeah, I could see that on the Cord FFs. Let's see. Guzzy, have you ever heard about the Wilson Pro Comfort Grip V2 made in Japan? You should try. It's amazing. Taggy lasts forever, but is only sold in Japan. Well, Guzzy, please tell me if I'm saying that right. I don't want to look like an idiot online more than I already do. However, I'm not in Japan. And I don't know if I don't know. I don't know if I don't know when I could go to Japan. I think Japan would be cool. I actually took Japanese as my foreign language in high school because we actually had a Japanese teacher who was from Japan. He immigrated to the US, and that was a really cool class. I really liked Japanese because I really did not want to take Spanish and I really did not want to take French because I thought that's boring. Everyone does that. So I took Japanese. And also because I like anime because I'm a nerd. But it was really cool. But I have not heard of the V2. I think that'd be cool to try. I would just have to somehow get to Japan because I really don't want to pay import fees. From what I've heard from my friends that do order stuff online, those suck. So maybe one day I'll get to try it, but for right now, maybe not. Ernest, I love the very old barricades. Ernest, that seems to be a very common sentiment among barricade users. Like they all love the old ones and they for the most part can't stand the new ones. That seems to be like a very very common thing. Just from what I've seen over the many years of it. CB, that's crazy doing a speech with the Court FF2. I know, right? You just see, I'm just walking the entire graduating class around this building that we're in where we're doing the commencement, and I'm leading the charge, and I'm just leading the charge full cap and gown, and then Court FF2s strapped to my feet, and then people are probably just like, what is this guy doing? And then I go up onto the stage to give the speech, and they're just like, is he serious? And I was like, yeah, this is these are my shoes for when anytime I was at college. So I was like, well, I'm gonna do it for graduation too. And no one said anything to me, so I was like, all right, cool. CB, also an anime enjoyer. Okay, My Hero Academia season 8 right now is the thing to watch. See, I haven't watched My Hero. I have not seen any of it, so I cannot say that I would jump right into season 8. I know very little. I know the main character's name is Deku, I believe, but besides that, I have not really watched almost anything of My Hero. I think my sister has, and I have friends that have watched a lot of My Hero, but I haven't. That's just me. JJK season 3 is gonna be insane. Okay. Have not seen JJK either. But I'll take your word for it. All right. You need to watch it. Well, the last time that the last time that I got recommended an anime to watch what an anime to watch in here, it was actually a tennis anime that I really really ended up liking, but they never finished the anime. They just kind of left it where it was, and it was actually called Baby Steps. I thought that was really good. It's not like the Prince of Tennis anime to where it's like they have superpowers or like super special tennis shots like Mario Tennis or anything. This was actually like actual strategy being involved in tennis, and I was like, that's actually really cool. And it was actually I actually based one of the premises of my videos on one of the things that they do in that anime. So that one was nice. I did like that one, but JJK, I've heard about it. I don't know if I can commit my time to watching JJK, especially just because for the birthday today, I got a new Switch game. I got the new Pokemon Legends ZA game. So I may be putting some time into that. I started playing it a little bit tonight, and I so far it seems fine. Haven't got that far in it yet. Like I just started, I haven't even put an hour into it yet. But that'll probably be where most of my time goes for right now. If I have free time when I'm not either at work or doing stuff for this, that'll probably be what I'm doing. Taylor Frist was referencing JJK in his celebration, like you've got to watch it. Well, maybe we'll see. Fritz is watching JJK. Novak, I'm pretty sure it was Novak. He did the thing from what is it? Is it K-pop Demon Hunters everyone was going crazy for that he actually did something from? I don't know. I haven't seen that either. I'm one of those people that like I have not watched a lot of actual like popular shows, movies or anything. Like the big thing my friends always get on me is like I've never seen Star Wars, and they always get on me for that cuz they're like, "Dude, how you are one of us, you are one of the nerds. How have you not seen Star Wars?" And it's just like I've never watched it. I'm not never been a big movie guy, but they always get on me for that. Or if I'm at work and someone brings up a movie, they don't even bother asking me anything. They don't even bother asking me anything about it because they know by now that I have not seen it. Star Wars is all right. See, I don't know. All right, so I'm currently rewatching the Gundam Iron Blood Orphans. What's your favorite strings? Are you What in the what? Hold on, Ernest. Hold on. Gundam Iron Blood Orphans. How do you what? What is that? I've never even heard of that. Anyway, what's your favorite strings are you using in rackets currently? Um, right now, mm, I don't know. I liked Mach 10. When I liked Mach 10 when I played with it in when I in quite a few rackets. Mach 10's done good. I'm a partial fan of Link's Tour just because that was a good string that I always had good success with. Now these are all just polys, of course, that are coming to the top of my head because that's predominantly what I play with. Multi-filaments, I don't play with as much just because I prefer the spin and control of the polyester, and I'm lucky enough to not have arm issues. But Link's Tour did well. Mach 10 does well. Mach 10 did well for me. I don't know if I have a set favorite yet. I think I'm starting to get one. I'm not sure, but yeah, Link's Tour and Mach 10 have been done really nicely, but it just depends on like what the racket is or what I'm doing. I used to be a very big advocate for myself of only using circular polyesters, but now I'm starting to move more towards shaped polys just because it's working better for my game currently. But that's just me. Gundam is a mecha anime. Okay, I'd heard of like normal Gundam, but I didn't know what the other word. I didn't know if the other words meant it was a completely different series like Gundam Iron Blood Orphans. I had no clue what that was. Like I knew Gundams typically were mechs. I just didn't know like if the other words made it a different specific show. But yeah, cool. Well, what's my favorite anime? Mine is My Hero for sure. Well, CB's is My Hero for sure. Not mine, because I've never seen My Hero. Favorite anime? Hmm. I guess just because it's probably the one I've seen the most. Well, not ca- okay. I think I got like two that are front runners. Um, one is Dragon Ball. I grew up watching Dragon Ball, especially Dragon Ball Z. That was like where I started, and that's where I came in at. But I started watching Dragon Ball Z Kai. That was where that was what started me because I didn't know that regular Dragon Ball and regular Dragon Ball Z were a thing. That Kai was just what was on TV. I was like, okay, cool. Guys shooting lasers out of their hands and fighting. Little younger me is like, that's amazing. So Dragon Ball was one. And then if it is considered an anime, I never know. I believe it is because I'm pretty sure it came out of Japan first. Yu-Gi-Oh! Really big Yu-Gi-Oh fan. I'm also very big Pokemon fan if you saw the Pokemon video I did about what Pokemon has taught me about tennis. But really big Yu-Gi-Oh fan. My favorite series of Yu-Gi-Oh is Yu-Gi-Oh 5Ds. That to me is just like amazing. I know it gets memed on for card games on motorcycles, but it's just my favorite series out of all of the Yu-Gi-Ohs. And yeah, I love the card game. I have many of the cards. I have the Master Duel app just to play around with every so often. And I just like that older generation and older style where the game is a lot easier for players to get into, and you don't have to wait 5 minutes to do one turn, or you don't have to wait 5 minutes to take your own turn. You could just draw your card. You could set a monster. You could set a spell or trap, and then just end your turn. And then that was threatening. I missed that. That was always great. Always fun. Ernest favorite anime series is Bleach, and then he was also into Demon Slayer. And then Yu-Gi-Oh! That's a classic. Okay, yeah. So Ernest, if you were into Demon Slayer, does that mean that you went to go watch the Demon Slayer movie that apparently came out recently, or was that recently? I know there was a Demon Slayer movie. I obviously did not see it because I've never seen Demon Slayer, but I know there was a movie somewhat recently, and people were kind of like, "This was great," but also something not necessarily the best. Nope, he didn't get to watch it. Ah, maybe now you can. I don't know. Boy. All right, all. Cool. Well, it's been a little over an hour and a half. So, unless there are any more questions, I think that this is where I may call it for the night. I want to say thank you to all who have been here, who are still here, for just spending a little bit of your Saturday night with me. Some random guy you've never met on the internet. And I just want to say thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. You made my birthday a little bit better, a little bit more special. And I'm glad that we got to have these talks. If there's any more questions, I'll stay on until we hit a hour and 40 minutes. So we got about 2.5 minutes left. If you have any questions for me to answer before we go, if not, then like I said, I'll stay here for the next 2.5 minutes, and then we'll end it there. So please comment now or forever hold your keystrokes. Cool. All right. Final minute. If you got one last question, you might want to ask it now before we go off for the night. Anyone? Oh. Hi, Kirby. Kirby's just over there with his little cap on. He also has a sword in his other hand that you can't see. He just kind of sits there. Head and Shoulders. Thank you for the happy birthday. I do appreciate it. See you. Have a great night. If it is night where you are, have a great day if it is not. But all right. That is time. I'm going to assume gentlemen because I don't think any ladies actually come to these live streams, and I do not have a majority female audience. So that's all I got. Thank you for being here. Greatly appreciate it. And as always, take care.